between the two countries today. That's as Sakir champions. It'll be great for Britain.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the takeoff.
Miles Angela, that's not her accent though, is it? Deputy PM Angela Rayner's housing and local government team have racked up enough air miles in a year to fly almost 13 times around the world.
We're going to be meeting with the British Prime Minister, very respected, and we are going to have a meeting with him probably in Aberdeen, and we're going to do a lot of different things.
The countdown is on to President Trump's arrival in Scotland, but police up there are warning they're not prepared for his visit tomorrow.
So good morning to you all. Thank you so much for your company this morning. Really appreciate it. We are back, yes,
Hello.
they let us back to wreak havoc for you. And I'm quite angry this morning, Ben.
Oh.
I can't lie.
At me? Me being partnered with you?
Give me time, that will happen. But no, that all our politicians, MPs, are starting their summer recess today. Happy holidays.
Yeah, there is a concern that at a time when the country is it's been argued, a tinderbox, Angela Rayner's warning about...
Nigel Farage, Angela Rayner, the police station, everybody saying summer of unrest.
You think MPs should be here? I'm not quite so convinced, though, because I just think, I mean, my opinion of MPs generally isn't great anyway, so I just think, well, what are they going to do regardless? Just stand in the Commons and just use some rhetoric?
Kind of meant to be running the country, Ben.
I know, but they don't.
I know they didn't do a great job, but I mean, it would be nice if some of them were here, at least a little bit.
Do they deserve a break, though?
No. To be honest with you, no, they don't. And they do have a lot of them. Now, I think, look, you know, how many breaks are you lot getting out there at the moment? Not that many. I mean, we're all feeling the cost of living crisis. Yeah. Many of us can't afford to go on holiday. You know, the country's going to hell in a handcart, to be honest. They just enjoyed
a nice pay rise as well, MPs. So,
yes, they have, haven't they?
Not bad, not bad. Yeah. All right, we'll get stuck into that in just a tick and much more. First, though, let's get your 60-second news update with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 9:33. Sakir Starmer and India's Narendra Modi are set to sign off on a trade deal worth £6 billion in investment for the British economy today. The Prime Minister and his Indian counterpart have also reportedly agreed to ramp up joint efforts to tackle illegal migration and organised crime. Disorder in Essex was a, quote, signal flare of rising unrest and exposes cracks in police forces across the country. That's according to the head of a police body. There's been a series of demonstrations outside the Bell Hotel in Epping since an asylum seeker was charged with sexual assault this month. He denies those allegations. A national strategy to tackle pensioner poverty is needed, according to MPs. The Work and Pensions Committee has urged the government to also decide on a minimum level of retirement income. An armed conflict has erupted between Cambodia and Thailand, with 9 Thai civilians killed across 3 provinces. And Health Secretary Wes Streeting has reportedly told hospital leaders, "We have your backs," ahead of a 5-day strike by resident doctors. Those are the headlines for now. More news at 10 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, good morning. 9:34. Ben and Dawn with you again on Britain's Newsroom on GB News. In for, of course, Andrew and Bev this morning.
Yeah, indeed. We've got an amazing show, so it's going to get you angry, but you don't want to move a muscle, you don't want to miss any of it. Now, police have admitted they are not prepared for a repeat of last summer's protests.
Yes, officers are deployed to keep peace outside a 4-star hotel in London. That's reportedly preparing to welcome asylum seekers.
So is this the start of a summer of unrest? According to many of your papers today, it is. And is it really appropriate for Parliament to be, getting off on summer recess today?
So you don't think it's appropriate, Dawn?
Well,
you think they should be here leading the country, maybe, I don't know, leading by example?
Well, I mean, I don't want anyone to particularly follow the example many of them are setting at the moment. However, everyone needs a holiday. I get that, right? OK, you know, if you have present company accepted, obviously. If you have a holiday, you come back fully charged up. I understand that. But when you have got, on the front page of The Telegraph today, there you go, police not ready for summer of unrest. If you are supposedly running the country, how can you be packing your suitcase, packing your swimming cosy and going, right, yeah, whatever, I'll deal with that when I get back?
So What would you like them to do?
I would like them to do something about the chaos that we seem to be having. Look, we've had...
How does that manifest? What would you like them to do? Get up in the Commons and give a rousing speech, or what would you like them to do? Start
tackling the problems. Actually, not talking about it.
But they're not.
Not talking about it. No, they're not. That's what I want them to do. I want them to stop just talking about it and start some action. We've had Angela Rayner on the left warning about it. We've had Nigel Farage on the right warning about it. We had the Police Federation today warning about the summer. And you know what, Ben? The 27th of July, Sunday, it's 1 year exactly from the Southport riots.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's interesting.
And where are we? Are we any better?
Sunday is the day of the big protest down in Epping, where lots of groups are going to be coming head-to-head because of the situation at the Migrant Hotel there, the allegations that a migrant assaulted a young schoolgirl.
Yeah. And this is not to encourage this, by the way. This is just reflecting what people are saying to us, what you are saying to us. People are angry. People, you know, you're not far right. You're not an agitator. You are genuinely concerned for your safety in your local towns and villages. But you don't feel you are being listened to at the moment. Well, you're going to be listened to even less over summer holiday because they won't be here.
See, I'm slightly different. I don't really care if MPs are here or not because I think I'm a bit further down the line than you, where I just have no faith in them to do anything about it anyway. We've seen that.
We have to have faith,
very little is being done about any of this. So
we have to have
if they want to go on holiday, no surprise. I mean, nothing's going to change.
But we have to have faith in somebody, surely.
I have faith in the good people of this country to stick together during hard times with hope for a better future, but I don't rely on the state for that. Because so far the state has done the complete opposite.
Well, yeah, I agree, but maybe it's time that they actually, you know, this government came in promising change, and they were going to look after the working people.
You believe them?
I want them to at least have a go at it. That's what they promised us. That's what they're there to do.
Well, I guess they'd argue they are having a crack at it, but, yeah, a little bit lacklustre is the report card thus far. Should we get the thoughts of former Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville now on this? Mike, thanks for joining us. Good morning. Just talking specifically about riots and tinderbox atmospheres, are the police equipped to deal with this kind of thing?
Well, the police are equipped to deal with it in the sense that they've got a large number of what they call level 1 public order officers. In the Met, they call the Territorial Support Group, and in other forces, they'll be called something very similar. But there's only a finite number of these people, and if there's one particular incident where there's a riot in London, Manchester or Birmingham, they can all help each other. It's when there's riots everywhere that we've seen, like in 2011, we saw after Southport, that there's a real issue because there's not enough level 1 officers. Then they have to pull in what they call level 2 officers, who are your normal street bobbies who are just trained in extra public order duties. But once they're pulled in, that means they're not patrolling the streets looking for robbers and burglars and thieves and rapists. And so people they're left high and dry. Communities don't have the police support, and we've got extra pressure from the Home Office, who have promised there'll be all these hotspot patrols in these town and city centres where there is begging, shoplifting, thieving, sorts of bad things going on. So you've got all these pressures, so there is simply not enough police officers to go round to do all the duties they're expected to do.
Official Home Offices released by the official figures released by the Home Office show that the number of the bobbies on the beat has fallen to a record low. Labour have promised to put 3,000 more bobbies on the beat by next spring. They didn't quite go into the detail of how they were going to do that. Will that solve the problem, though, Mike? Is that enough?
It won't solve the problem. There isn't enough officers on the street to deal with the rise in crime. We're forever told that crime is falling. What in reality is happening is that crime's increasing, but less people are reporting it because they simply have no confidence in the police. And if they're poor, they don't have insurance, so they don't bother. They don't need a crime reference number. And the politicians, as you say, they've allowed this to go on, both Conservatives and Labour, reducing officers. And also what you have as well is the officers. What you recruit is a brand new officer who's got very, very little experience. What they've lost are those experienced officers who can diffuse situations, who know to deal with the public. And so you've got a real crisis in policing. And in addition to this, you've got a real crisis in confidence in policing. British policing used to be the most trusted in the world. There was everybody was seen as decent, Dixon and Dock Green, people trusted the police. Foreigners wanted their police to be like our police. And now people see things like Essex and they question, I'm a working person. I do my job. I really work hard. I really don't want a load of undocumented young men next to my daughter's secondary school. But the police don't seem to be on my side. And that really impacts on the ability to police the public as well.
Mike, talking of Essex, which you mentioned there, the situation in Epping, there have been calls for the Chief Constable of Essex Police to resign over the way the situation has been handled there. Do you think he should?
I think he should, yes. I think it's unprecedented what we saw, that people are being escorted to and from. There's a big debate whether vans used, were they not used. But the facts are the police's job is to keep the peace. It was said, oh, we have a duty. The Assistant Chief Constable said, we have a duty to facilitate assembly. Well, I can't find that anywhere. I was never taught that in the police. What you're taught is your duty is to keep the King's peace. So there's two separate sides. You keep them apart. Why march them in? And then we're told if they weren't bust out, they were bust out because there was danger. Well, you only have to watch the video, and it looked like a load of school kids being loaded onto minibuses. If there was danger, you'd expect people there throwing rocks and petrol bombs and all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah.
But those people suddenly didn't exist. And what this sets in the mind of people is this two-tier policing. The people get into their head that the police are not on my side. And I just think generally, Don, if you look at it, you've got these migrants being put up in top quality hotels in central London that most people couldn't afford. They see people gambling, as you said, on the money they're given. They see the police escorting them. Yeah. You see all these things you see, and people, I think the public think they're being laughed at, not by the police in particular, but by the entire establishment.
Yep, the state. Mike, we've run out of time, but just before I let you go, just in a few words, what do the police do well in this day and age, do you think? What are they good at?
They do terrorism, counter-terrorism and murder inquiries very well.
Yeah, great. Good to hear. Thank you very much, Mike. Have a good morning. Thanks for your company.
Strong words indeed. OK, let's get more analysis now with GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, good to see you. I would say, Mark, good to see you, but you never have good news for us.
Well, what do you want to hear?
Puppies, Sammy...
I've got two lovely cats in the house. So
OK,
beautiful.
Kittens will do.
Oscar and Leo.
Should we talk about migrants?
I'll show you
instead?
pictures sometime.
Thank you very much. Asylum seekers gambling away taxpayers' cash. Police ready for summer of unrest. Not good reading on the front page of the papers.
No, we should say with regard to police not ready for a summer of unrest, that's not the police that are saying that. That's the Police Federation, yeah. Which is effectively the rank and file union. So the police... service and police chiefs themselves will obviously accentuate the... Well, of course, but officially they will accentuate the positive that they are able to deal with whatever eventuality, that they have mutual aid, which is where one force or multiple forces can come to the aid of another. But listen, there's no doubt, I think, that the Federation are right, that there are... numbers in policing at the moment that are falling. Official figures have shown that as well. There is significant issues around certain crimes that the police are struggling to get on top of. There's great calls and demands, quite rightly, for the police to be concentrating on crimes that people really want to see action on, such as knife crime, other violent robberies, the likes of shoplifting, burglaries, all of the above.
One rape every hour in London?
That people want investigated, but when you've got the potential for disorder, or even at the very least protests that have to be managed, that takes away resources from an ability to go and respond and deal with those other issues.
What's the fallout been since that press conference yesterday in Essex with the Chief Constable?
Well, I thought it was an extraordinary press conference. I really do. You know, BJ Harrington, the Chief Constable, spoke for a long time, but he absolutely didn't say anything of any consequence as far as the command decisions that were taken that day. And that's the issue. People are getting distracted about whether, you know, this group was escorted by a group of officers or not. That's routine. You see that at football matches. Opposing fans, you'll get cordons of police around them, taking them to different locations. You see that with protests. Yeah. That's not the issue. The issue is why a commander in charge of that operation decided it was a good idea to take one group of protesters, i.e. these far-left agitators, you know, from Socialist Worker, Stand Up to Racism, the usual group that have their pre-made placards, their covered faces, whose only reason for attending is to shout at the other side, to call them Nazi scum and racist and whatever, to up the ante and really stoke the tensions of what was already a volatile and angry protest outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. What command decision was taken, or what commander thought it was a good idea to lead this other group of protesters right into the heart of that? You can do that. The Metropolitan Police will often have rival groups of protesters within earshot of each other, but only if they know they've got enough resources to keep the two sides apart. Clearly, Essex Police didn't have enough resources. They brought this other group in and then embarrassingly had to scramble to take them out in vans on the hurry-up out of there to keep them away from danger. They should never have been allowed so close to the other protesters in the first place, I would say.
Yeah, that's the moments on screen now, that footage that you revealed yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, I'm not sure what's more concerning, this footage or the performance of BJ Harrington at the presser yesterday. I don't want to lay into the guy, but he is the highest authority at Essex Police, and to say that press conference was lacking is an understatement. Just own the decision. Even if the public think it's the wrong decision.
Well, exactly.
Explain yourself with some authority.
If you're going to stand up there and you're going to talk for as long as he did, as you say, the head of that police force, then don't say no comment.
Yeah.
You know, of course he's got something to say, surely, on the command decisions of his subordinates.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the one.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much, as always.
Great stuff. Right, up next, 2 million pensioners are living in poverty in Britain. 2 million. Find out how a group of MPs aim to bring that to an end.
But
can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're off on your holidays this week, let's take a look at the weather across Europe. So, particularly hot for Italy and Greece, but further west, particularly windy for the Canary Islands and down the western coast of Portugal and in particularly the southwestern part of the Mediterranean. Thunderstorms for southeastern Spain, across France and northern Italy, but it's southern Italy and Greece that will be looking particularly hot, warmer than usual, and that heat is likely to last into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
You have to tackle gross levels of inequality. Now, this is not about being... It's not about fairness or the politics of envy. It's about saying we need more money in average people's pockets so they can go out and spend. What's happening is a lot of people are spending all the money on rent and mortgages.
So you want to take money off rich people and give it to poorer people?
Yeah, but obviously, when I say rich, who do you imagine?
No, well, I don't know, because I'm not proposing it. You tell me.
So for me, I'm not talking about those who've done quite well, those who've grown their businesses. I'm talking about the billionaire class and the corporations. And I don't want to look at increasing income taxes necessarily. It should be about a wealth tax, because if we don't do anything about it, it's going to get worse. Now, what's interesting what you said about benefits, I know there's this pervasive idea. I just want to make that point quickly.
Let him finish his point. She's about to spontaneously combust, but hang on. Go on, finish your point.
There is this pervasive idea that, well, we need to cut benefits to force people into work. And you can understand the logic there. It makes sense, right? What's interesting is in Denmark, they have a higher labour rate of participation, which a fancy phrase of more working age people are in work than the UK. In 2022, it was like 80%, 2024, 75%. Look at the UK, only 53% of people in work, yet Denmark have a far higher or far generous welfare state.
Well, we've had a lot of cheap labour that has come in, which that's taken the levels of earnings down at times, and that's left...
I disagree with that.
Well, just let me finish. And that's left a lot of people who already live here, basically lounging on the sofa and thinking, well, my benefits are great, why should I get out of bed? Why should I get out of bed for another 20 quid a week? And we've got to get rid of that mentality, because it's the same
You're
people
using
who seem to
anecdotes
be...
here. You're not looking at the facts.
People
I've told
who
you the
seem
facts.
to be contributing to this economy year in and year out, and a lot of them are actually older.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Picking up.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben and Dawn. Thanks for your company and your emails. They've been flying in. One from Joanna. Good question, Joanna. Good morning to you. How is it that the government can't see how this migrant crisis will play out when it's obvious to the rest of us? I mean, they would argue they can see how it's going to play out. Angela Rayner, of course, her comments about migration risking tensions. So they would argue that they can see how it's going to play out. But Joanna, I think I'm with you. I can understand your point about them looking like they just don't get it.
But what was interesting, though, Ben and Joanna, is the fact that when Keir Starmer did actually start talking about, like ordinary people are talking and feeling, with the island of strangers, he literally had to apologise because he was pulled back by the left side of the Labour Party.
That's because he doesn't believe in anything.
Well, no, what are his beliefs, actually?
Unlike, say, Jeremy Corbyn, who I keep repeating this line day after day on this channel, unlike Jeremy Corbyn or Nigel Farage or President Donald Trump, whether you agree with their politics or not, you know what they believe in, and they've been consistent.
Actually, Mark Stevens, Essex is full of Londoners on that Epping situation. Full of Londoners were forced out of London by mass migration. They will not be impressed by that Essex police chief. Lots of you agreeing with that one.
Right, let's move on. There are 2 million pensioners living in poverty in Britain, and a cross-party group of MPs is now calling on the government to do more to protect them.
Yeah, they also want more action taken to confront the fact that Britain has an ageing population.
Baroness Ros Altman, the Conservative peer and former Pensions Minister, joins us now. Good morning, Ros. Thank you for your company. Really appreciate it. This is quite concerning. 2 million in poverty and not enough being done to protect them. What does your group propose to do about it?
Well, you know, we keep trying to help the government understand that not all pensioners are well off. There's this narrative going around that, you know, pensioners are the lucky people. They've been so cosseted through their lives. Actually, that's just not true. Of course, there are some well-off pensioners, just as there are some very well-off younger people. But the point is, we have millions of pensioners in the country who are trying to eke out a living on very little. And therefore, the government needs to take more seriously the support that we give to people who have served this country, built this country up, you know, not just leave them languishing with the idea that policymakers seem to be adopting, that they don't need help. Yes, the top half may be okay, but at least half of our pensioners are not well off. Our state pension is one of the lowest in the developed world, and that's what a lot of people are left living on. So at the end of the day, the government does need to take seriously the recommendations.
Ros,
to help
unfortunately, because of technical issues, we've run out of time very quickly, but thank you very much. We'll make your point further on in the programme as well. Thank you very much.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Dry with sunny spells for many across the UK, but it will be a particularly wet day for those in eastern parts of England, and there'll be further rain arriving from the west later on as well. There's that area of rain arriving into Lincolnshire, into parts of East Anglia and then into London as we head later on through the morning. But for much of the UK, there'll be plenty of dry and bright spells with this frontal system arriving later on in towards the evening. Temperatures, again, are going to be around 18 to 20 degrees across the far north, warmest in the south, 24 or 25 for southern Wales and southern England. But underneath this cloud and with this rain and with this North Sea coastal breeze, it'll probably be feeling a little bit chillier across the far southeast of England. Here we can see temperatures around 18 degrees or so. Warmer though for Devon and Cornwall, and plenty of sunshine here. Wales seeing a nice day as well. Cumbria and for parts of western Scotland who saw quite a damp day on Wednesday, there'll be plenty more sunshine as well. Further north though, for parts of Shetland, there'll be some showers coming through as we head through the day as well.
Through the rest of Thursday then, so that rain that was affecting London and the southeast will slowly start to move away as we head into the overnight period, and there will be lots of dry spells around, but this frontal system will be slowly and steadily moving eastwards as we head in towards Friday morning, arriving and giving some mild conditions, 14 to 16. Coolest temperatures will be in central parts in rural locations as well. But across the central parts of England, and particularly the southeast, will be a dry and bright start to the day on Friday. Further west, though, that frontal system weakening as it moves eastwards will introduce some further cloud and some quite rainy and drizzly conditions. Over high grounds of Wales, it could be quite murky as well there. Cooler across the far north, 17 to 20 degrees, but the warmth in London around 28 degrees.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A16 miles per hour at Mearnskirk interchange is closed eastbound for roadworks. Motorists should follow signed diversions and expect delays. The M4 is closed due to construction at Junction 37 Pyle and Junction 39 Groves. The A63 eastbound in the East Riding of Yorkshire has a closed lane due to a broken down vehicle. In Staffordshire, congestion on the A5 eastbound between A518 at Toxeter North and A518 at Toxeter East causes delays. And on the trains, Hull Trains has reduced services due to industrial action, and ScotRail faces disruptions at Glasgow Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Thursday, the 24th of July. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Dawn Neeson.
Very good morning to you. Hope you're well. Police unprepared. Warnings this morning that police are overstretched and maybe pushed to breaking point over the growing numbers of protests against migrant hotels.
Well, the Police Federation say that resourcing all of the protests in recent weeks mean that officers are not able to concentrate on other key crimes in their local communities.
And jackpot migrants. Some asylum seekers are having a flutter at casinos using, yes, your cash.
The Prime Minister and his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi will sign a trade deal between the two countries today. That's as Sakir champions. It'll be great for Britain.
Yes, it was promised for years today. It's finally signed. Some good news for Britain with this Indian trade deal. But will we have similar luck with Donald Trump? Don't hold your breath.
And 2 million pensioners in Britain are currently in poverty as MPs from all parties demand a UK-wide strategy to tackle the problem. We will be going back to this subject, I promise you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax and enjoy the takeoff.
Yes, enjoy the Labour ride. Air Miles Angela, Deputy PM Angela Rayner's housing and local government team have racked up enough air miles in a year to fly almost 13 times around the world.
Hold on, local government.
We're going to be meeting with the British Prime Minister, very respected, and we are going to have a meeting with him probably in Aberdeen, and we're going to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, anyway, so the countdown is on to Donald Trump's arrival in Scotland tomorrow. Is the excitement building?
Yes, we're here in Turnberry in Ayrshire, where Donald Trump is expected to visit one of his 2 Scottish properties. You know, the fever pitch is mounting. The police have already closed down the roads and preparations are well underway for the historical visit of Donald Trump.
Do you know what? I welcome President Trump with open arms. Welcome to the United Kingdom. Welcome to Scotland, where you have a couple of businesses. You employ lots of people. I know many people aren't fans of him, but he's coming in a business capacity. And despite the claims of Labour peers and MPs and so on who says he shouldn't be here, it's costing the police too much money, I say welcome President Trump. Welcome to our strongest and closest ally.
Well, absolutely, he's the president of America, so absolutely, I get that. But there is an issue with policing costs. I don't think we can ignore that. We're also talking in the programme about a summer of unrest, the Police Federation saying they are concerned about having enough police to go round, certainly at the migrant hotels, and keeping everybody safe at the same time.
Do you think Trump shouldn't be coming then?
No, I think, of course, he should be coming. I mean, it's an independent business trip. I mean, why shouldn't he be coming? But I do think there is an issue with the policing costs.
Sounds like a...
He would bring his own
Sounds like a
security.
police problem, not a Trump problem.
Well, yeah, but I mean, of course he should be welcome as president. We've had far worse people here welcomed with open arms.
Yeah,
and it is interesting when you see if the official visit in September, all our politicians will be in recess for their conference season.
Oh, of course they are. They've done a runner. Absolute cowardice. They can't bear the fact to have him in Parliament.
Curious timing.
But we'd give Gaddafi a state visit, though, back in the day. Of course we will.
Yeah, and the head in China. So and Macron.
Yeah.
Macron, it was all man hugs off of Macron, wasn't it? Any case, look, wherever we're talking about, we want you to join in our conversation. So whether it is Trump's visit, whether it is pensioners in poverty, or whether it is, yes, indeed, the migrant hotels, or anything you want to talk about, to be honest, join in by visiting gbnews.com/your say, and we will read as many out as possible. First, let's get the news headlines with Katie Bowie.
Ben, Dawn, thank you and good morning. The headlines at 4 minutes past 10. Disorder in Essex was a, quote, signal flare of rising unrest and exposes cracks in police forces across the country. That's according to the head of a police body. There's been a series of demonstrations outside the Bell Hotel in Epping since an asylum seeker was charged with sexual assault. He denies those allegations. The chairman of the Police Federation, Tiff Lynch, wrote in the Telegraph newspaper that the disorder was not just a troubling one-off. It comes as Essex Police has issued a dispersal order in Epping, which will be in place from 2 o'clock today, covering an area including the town centre and transport hubs. Yesterday, the police force denied it bussed counter-demonstrators to and from a protest outside that hotel last week, saying that while it did escort some people away, any claims about the deliberate use of counter-protesters are categorically wrong. 10 anti-migrant protesters have been arrested on charges of disorder. Deputy Conservative Party Chairman Matt Vickers spoke to GB News.
It's the elderly people who daren't go out at night because they know this stuff's happening in their community in a way it never has. It's the businesses that have to shut their doors early, take the financial hit, be afraid to open and do business, and people can't go to work. There are real consequences to that sort of violence on our streets. We don't want to see it, but at the same time, people should have the right to protest.
Elsewhere, Sir Keir Starmer and India's Narendra Modi are set to sign off on a trade deal worth £6 billion in investment for the British economy today. The Prime Minister and his Indian counterpart have also reportedly agreed to ramp up joint efforts to tackle illegal migration and organised crime. The UK-India trade deal is understood to be the largest of its kind for its economic impact in Britain. It will see tariffs on an array of British goods reduced from an average of 15% to 3%. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has reportedly told hospital leaders we have your backs ahead of a 5-day strike by resident doctors. The public are being urged to keep coming forward for NHS care during the walkout, set to begin tomorrow at 7 a.m. NHS England boss Sir Jim McKay said that the service would use much more restraint to the demands of the British Medical Association. Thousands are expected to join the strike, which is the 12th by resident doctors since March 2023. US President Donald Trump will visit Scotland tomorrow, where he's expected to open a new 18-hole golf course at Trump International and a memorial garden to his mother. Police Scotland say the visit will undoubtedly stretch police resources, with the US President requiring a significant operation across the country over many days. The visit comes as the White House pushed back against reports that President Trump is among hundreds of names that appear in Justice Department documents relating to the late convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The claims were nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and the liberal media, a White House spokesman said. An armed conflict has erupted between Cambodia and Thailand, with 11 Thai civilians killed across 3 provinces. Those killed include an 8-year-old boy. The Thai health minister said Cambodia's actions should be considered as war crimes. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said that they will play a significant role in promoting de-escalation between the 2 countries. Clashes were reported at the border overnight, with shelling and the use of fighter jets on each side. Sir Keir Starmer's government is deeply committed to recognising a Palestinian state, Cabinet Minister Jonathan Reynolds said this morning. His comments come as the chief of the World Health Organization has said Gaza is suffering, quote, man-made mass starvation, accusing Israel of a blockade on aid to the enclave. At a UN Security Council meeting, the UK's representative to the UN, Dame Barbara Woodward, described the Israeli aid system as inhumane, ineffective, dangerous and fuelling instability. More than 100 aid agencies, including Oxfam and Save the Children, issued a joint statement warning that mass starvation is spreading across Gaza despite Israeli denials. Israel has dismissed reports of numerous Palestinian deaths from malnutrition as propaganda. And Alex Salmond has been cleared of a historic sexual assault claim. According to reports, police say no further action will be taken after a complaint was made about the former SNP First Minister and Alba Party leader at the end of last year. Mr Salmond, who was First Minister between 2007 and 2014, died of a heart attack while on a trip to North Macedonia in October. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Casey. 10:09. Ben and Dawn with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News. You, of course, at home are with us as well. Thank you for your company.
Yeah.
Some emails coming in on your say, actually. Ian, you've said, I've lost all respect for President Trump as he's complimented Keir Starmer so many times. He does us no favours whatsoever. Peter, you've replied to John saying, I think that this is ironic diplomacy by Trump. The US trade deal will only be good for the USA. Yeah, I mean, Trump is just being diplomatic, I guess. I think they actually probably get on. I mean, yeah, who knows? They look like they get on.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't mean, of course, that Trump has to like his politics.
Well, no, exactly. He's over for a business visit. I mean, the real important one is when he comes back in September. Meanwhile, I just want to, as the older member of the panel, by a long shot, I just want to address the pensioners in poverty issue we were talking about. We were talking to Baroness Ros Altman earlier on, and unfortunately Ros was having technical difficulties, so we didn't have as much time as we'd like to have spent with her. We will be coming back to this subject because lots of you are getting in touch about this. And, you know, pensioners saying, this is Sue, pensioners on the lowest pensions in one of the most expensive countries. Sarah saying, we need to go back to that. It's a very important subject. We need to normalise. This is a very important issue. So we will be coming back to that because I know many of you are concerned, and it's something very... We should be worried. 1.9 pensioners in this country live in poverty.
Yeah.
5,000 pensioners died of the cold last year. Meanwhile, we are... I know maybe it's wrong to compare, but, you know, this is close to my heart. My mum's involved in this. I'm very nearly involved in this. Meanwhile, we are putting illegal migrants up in 4-star hotels. Our pensioners are scared to turn the heating on.
Yeah, unfortunately, long story short with Ros, because she had some technical problems, she was late coming up. That's why the interview was so squeezed, but
Yeah.
I can see how it looks.
Yeah, and normally we wouldn't point out a negative, but so many of you are concerned. I'm concerned. It's such an important issue. But, I mean, Ros does send her apologies as well, but we will be coming back to it, for sure.
And one more, John, you said, Ben, you support politicians like Jeremy Corbyn, who you call left-wing. I don't support Jeremy Corbyn. My point was just that at least we know what he stands for. He's, of course, a raging commie, but I respect him for sticking by his values over the decades. You know what he stands for. He's authentic in that respect, same as President Trump, same as Nigel Farage. He's been banging on about the same thing, the same concerns for decades. And when you compare them to some of the current crop leading the country, and indeed in the shadow cabinet, they don't stand for anything because they don't believe in anything. So,
but this is the reason why 90% of people have no faith in any political classes whatsoever. Nothing to do with the colour of the rosette. They just don't trust political classes anymore.
No, yeah, I know lots of people like
Raging commie is obviously a technical political term, is it?
It's just fact check it. It's probably true. All right, let's move on. Sir Keir Starmer and India's Narendra Modi are set to sign a trade deal worth £6 billion in investment for the British economy today. Yeah, the Prime Minister and his Indian counterpart have also reportedly agreed to ramp up joint efforts to tackle illegal migration and organised crime. GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster joins us now. Catherine, good morning to you.
Morning.
Lots going on today. A win for this Labour government signing this trade deal?
Do you know, it actually is. It actually is a win. This is a trade deal that we've been hearing about for years and years. Boris Johnson, back in 2022, said it would be done by Diwali. The Tories couldn't get it across the line, and this government actually has. Now, the Prime Minister will say he's got 3 great trade deals this year. This one with the EU, with America. Well, I mean, in the case of America, it's not a big free trade deal, is it? It's a tariff mitigation. It makes things a bit less bad than they were when the tariffs first came in. But I think this is actually a genuine win. So it was announced in May. Today, the Indian PM is here signing it. There will be a meeting between the Prime Minister and Modi. The Chancellor will also be there. The Business Secretary, who's done a lot of work on this. I think Modi is meeting the King too. And basically, it's great news for British business because India is a massive market, and the average tariffs on British goods will be cut from an average of 15% to 3%. So good news for British businesses. Also, imports from India will be cheaper for us ultimately as a result of this. So, yes, a rare bit of
But it's not without controversy, is it?
It's not.
With the migrant situation.
No, it's not without controversy. And one of the sticking points with India was always that they wanted basically lots of visas for people to come in. Now, they haven't given way hugely on that, but what there is, which is controversial, is that people coming here on short-term contracts working for Indian companies for up to 3 years won't have to pay national insurance here. Now, the Conservatives say that means that they could undercut British workers. The government say not at all, that we've got similar agreements with dozens of countries. But I remember when it was announced in May, that was something that sort of got a lot of attention. Or worth saying, although this deal is being signed today, that aspect of it hasn't actually been completely nailed down. That's still being negotiated.
OK. What else is on the agenda today, politically?
So that is the big news that the government wants us to talk about. Of course, behind the scenes, there's a lot of work going on now about what's happening with the protests that we're seeing at asylum hotels, law and order going forward.
What have you heard about that on the streets? Politicians, of course, they're going for summer recess. Are they concerned about the? I mean, Angela Rayner's comments suggest they are.
They are really concerned. In the last lobby briefing a couple of days ago, what struck me was that Angela Rayner was warning the cabinet that immigration, deindustrialisation, basically the horrendous events of Southport with the murder of those little girls last year and disinformation on social media. We had those terrible riots. She is saying that the most deprived areas that rioted last year, 17 out of 18 of them are the very most deprived places in the country, and that the government has got to address people's concerns and quickly. And I think what's really interesting is the shift in tone from the government as well, because last year we heard these people being described as far right. Again, in January with the grooming gangs, the Prime Minister talked about people jumping on a far right bandwagon. Now they are saying these are real concerns, we have to listen, and I think that is a shift. But seeing the problem and, of course, dealing with it, two completely different things.
Indeed, yeah. Talk is easy, I guess. Catherine, thank you.
Catherine,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. OK, this is an interesting point coming from Charlie. Just quickly, Charlie said the trade deal would not be possible if Britain was still in the EU. That's what Starmer wanted to stay in, wasn't it? Interesting point. OK, keep those coming in, by the way, at gbnews.com/your say.
Right, so let's head north of the border, where President Trump is set to begin his 5-day visit to Scotland tomorrow.
Alongside opening his new golf course, the President will meet with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and Scotland's First Minister, John Swinney. GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire joins us now from the village of Turnberry, where the course is, of course, that President Trump owns. Tony, good morning. What's the atmosphere like? I hear there's some protest brewing as well.
Good morning. Yeah, I think these coordinated protests are going to form quite a big part of the dialogue around this trip. Certainly the police presence here at the Turnberry Resort in Ayrshire is already mounted up. Roads are closed and significant number of police vehicles and officers, not just here but very much on the route here from a bit further north in Glasgow. Very much this is going to be seen as one of the two pinnacle points for this visit, the other being in Aberdeen, where President Trump is going to open his new golf course along with a memorial garden to his mother, Marianne MacLeod. Donald Trump, of course, being half Scottish himself. His mother was born in the Isle of Lewis in the village of Tong. He holds Scotland in very, very high regard, which is why he's invested so much in the little country of ours. These two resorts of world-class golf courses, very much revered by the game around the world. And he is coming here to see them and indeed open that new course up in Aberdeenshire over this 5-day trip. Now, as you mentioned there, he will be meeting Keir Starmer in that, along with John Swinney at some point over this 5-day trip. And of course, the trade deal is going to be chief among them. But I spoke to John Swinney a couple of days ago, just as the tall ships were departing Aberdeen, to ask about how important this message was and what he hoped to get from his meeting with the President of the United States.
People will appreciate, I think, the necessity of the First Minister of Scotland meeting with the President of the United States when he comes to Scotland. And my job is to protect and to promote the interests of Scotland. And that's what I'll be doing in the dialogue with President Trump. We've got significant economic ties that it's important that we nurture to sustain and develop those economic opportunities, and that will be the focus of the discussions that I take forward. And of course that will also happen within the context of a period of significant economic of international turmoil, and many of those issues are important for us to make sure that I set out the perspective of Scotland in that respect.
You'll appreciate this, Ben. Certainly there's been 33 US presidents who can claim Scottish heritage or ancestry, but I think it's fair to say that none of them have really invested quite so much or have spoken about Scotland in such high regard as President Trump. Now, over this 5-day visit, there are going to be protests, some major ones organised by the Stop Trump Coalition in Aberdeen and in Edinburgh, but on the larger scale, it's interesting here, our politicians basically say that, well, you might not agree with his politics, there's no denying the man's love for Scotland, and after all, this is a US president visiting Scotland because he wants to, with, of course, about a month between this trip and his official, state visit, his second state visit that's going to happen in September. And, of course, just lastly, lots of talk today about police. Now, that has been the main sort of thread of contention here about these visits and the strain that's going to put on Scottish officers. The Scottish Police Federation, who represents the police in Scotland, they were considering legal action because of the potential strain that this visit could put in the officers. Police Scotland looking to Northern Ireland for some support staff, but otherwise this is going to be a very highly policed event, and of course the eyes of the world will be watching.
OK. Tony, thank you very much. That's Tony Maguire, GB News reporter in Scotland about
Thanks,
Trump's
Tony.
visit. Thank you, Tony.
Great course up at Aberdeen, the Trump International, very good. They're building the second course. It looks beautiful. I've been up there. And also, isn't it funny, in October, John Swinney saying to reporters in a lobby briefing that he would vote for Kamala Harris in the election. This was weeks before the US election. And everybody else should as well, because Donald Trump opposed Scottish independence. So interesting to see how they'll be tomorrow and over the weekend. Will there be jovial pats on the back? Donald Trump responded to those comments in October by calling them appalling, saying, I invest so much money in his country and he hasn't got the respect to treat me fairly. So
I'm sure they'll play the political game when they're together. Great guy, he's a great guy.
Indeed.
OK, now, there's just 2 weeks remaining in our current Great British giveaway. You know it by now. It is your chance to win an incredible 54321, £54,321 in tax-free cash. And here are the details you need to make it yours.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you can win our biggest cash prize so far. £54,321 in tax-free cash is up for grabs in our summer Great British giveaway. Cash to spend on anything you like. All of that cash could send you on a holiday, boost your savings, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Now remember, all tax-free as well, they can't get their hands on it. Now, Health Secretary Wes Streeting orders his officials to keep patients safe as resident doctors go on strike tomorrow. Are you worried about your own or care of your family during the 5 days of industrial action? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now imagine this. You spend your entire life dreaming of public service. You work your way up to become the Director of Public Prosecutions. You then become a Member of Parliament, and just next to your constituency is a world-famous museum hosting
I'm imagining it, Tom.
waxworks of famous figures, and you dream that one day you will be featured in this mausoleum, for want of a better word. You become Prime Minister and you think, now, finally, my waxwork will be on display at the world-famous Madame Tussauds. And then they say no.
And then you find out that Theresa May has one.
Oh.
Yes, so Madame Tussauds, there's Theresa May. There she is in her suit.
Yeah,
she was always one for colourful outfits.
Theresa May has a waxwork there, so does Boris Johnson, of course. It's reasonable to expect the Prime Minister would have thought that he would join the likes of David Cameron, Theresa May and Boris Johnson with a waxwork.
Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill has one. Harold Macmillan apparently was previously displayed. Tony Blair.
Of course.
Tony Blair, of course. But apparently, so Madame Tussauds can't be sure that he'll still be relevant in 5 years' time. That's the reason.
Is that why they've said it? No.
They can't be sure, so they don't want to put the money into it, presumably.
Wow.
I could imagine Keir Starmer commissioning his own.
And yet, Lord Salisbury had a waxwork, the Marquis of Salisbury, Harold Macmillan, and David Lloyd George, of course. But the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland...
Think about this.
...does not have a waxwork because he's not relevant.
A spokesperson told the Metro, "We have no current plans to make a figure of the British Prime Minister."
GB News, the People's Channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Ben and Dawn with you this morning. We're also joined by Carol Malone and Jonathan Liss. Aren't we lucky in the studio?
Yes, we are.
Good morning.
Back.
Carol, should we start with you want to talk about the police chief in Essex, BJ Harrington, his press conference yesterday. Were you pleased with it? Were you surprised at his level of...
I thought it revealed that he's inept and ludicrous and a bit of an idiot, actually.
We should say the fence more, Carol Malone.
It was his coppers who escorted... Let's put it in perspective. We'll talk about it was the Epping protests, which were very peaceful protests, largely parents who were objecting to the fact that an asylum seeker has been charged with 3 alleged sexual offences, one of them on a young girl. And the parents of the area had gone out to protest. The protest was peaceful until these stand-up to racism activists were escorted in by Essex police. Now, you know, Nigel Farage has said this is appalling. Heads must roll over this because not only was this 2-tier policing and these stand-up to racism protests were given a level of care that was ridiculous, there would not have been a problem if those stand-up to racism people hadn't been there. And Harrington, there are calls for him to resign now because this was totally the wrong way to handle this. And he's just saying, you know, it's not a case of me resigning. Well, it absolutely is a case of him resigning. He ordered his coppers to escort these people to the thing. Now, he also, when he was confronted with that, he lied about it. He said it never happened until someone produced a video to show it absolutely happened.
Well, didn't he say that he didn't drive them because Farage said that
Farage had said they were busted. OK, whether they were busted
which he said was
or
not.
Whatever is irrelevant. The fact is...
It's not irrelevant. It's
no, it is totally irrelevant because this police force escorted activist stand-up to racism activists into a peaceful demonstration, which then was not peaceful.
They were driven.
The constables denied that.
Well, we've showed footage of the past 2 days on this channel. They were put in meat wagons and driven into the process.
Well, the police, the chief constable said that they were not. The chief constable said they were not busted.
Well, there you go. There's the film, and that's the cops have lied about this.
Well, do we know that? Are they inside?
Yes. To be fair, in the defence of the police in this, they did say that the footage you're seeing now was them actually escorting the protesters away from the scene for their safety. But it's not a good look, and it does play into 2-tier policing.
No, I don't think that it's 2-tier policing at all, Dawn. I think that there is a role...
Lots of people do.
Well, they might, but I don't agree with them. I think that if you have a very charged political process, I can see why the police should be keen to avoid any potential confrontation between those sides, which might escalate into violence.
So
on the other hand, I think when you do have something that is as polarising as this issue, it is valid for people who are on the other side of the argument to be able to show their process as well and to demonstrate that the whole country is not on one side of this, because they are not.
But you know what the narrative has been, and it's a really pernicious narrative. It's that those protesters, those concerned parents, those terrified parents, were made to look like nasty, racist protesters when they're not. They're just parents worried about their kids in an area where a whole load of blokes, young blokes, have just been parachuted in. And they have every right to be angry. It doesn't make them racist. It doesn't make them anti-migrant. It just makes them terrified.
Carol,
and that's going to be replicated all over this country.
You know perfectly well that...
Don't tell me what I know, because what you're going to say I probably don't.
Well, let me finish and you can tell me. The majority of sexual offences in this country are not carried out by asylum seekers.
Oh, hang on. No,
Wrong.
hang on.
Per capita,
totally
that's wrong.
Per capita, entirely wrong. A quarter of all sex crimes are carried out by foreign criminals. In terms of Afghans and Eritreans, 20% they're more likely to commit sexual offences.
What I just said is not true. The majority of sexual offences are not... The majority, the absolute majority are not carried out... Look, the point is the majority of the country isn't migrants. The point I'm making is that we don't have protests every time there is a sexual offence. And obviously, if there's any sexual offence, it's ghastly.
Hang on, Jonathan, before you move on, can you address Carol's point there? Afghans and Eritreans, for example, from MOJ data that the Telegraph compiled from Freedom of Information requests, are 20 times more likely to be convicted of sexual offences than Brits.
Well, I don't have those figures. I'd have to...
You do this every time. You won't address a fact.
I'd have to know. I'm sorry, but you can give me any kind of statistic you want. I would
you just don't believe it if you don't like it.
I'll have to investigate it and
you
see.
Will have to. How are you going to investigate what the Home Office
I'll have to read it and
done?
see what the metrics are, because there are so many times when you see statistics, for example...
You just don't want to believe it.
No, it's not that.
It's really
look, it might well be true. It might well be true.
It's not might well be.
Carol,
it is true.
Even if it were true, what you were saying...
it is true.
OK, even if it were true, I don't know what to extrapolate from that. Are we saying that we should not let any Afghan people into this country?
Or that sort of
Afghans are more
if they're the ones who are
something?
abusing women and children, no, don't let them in. That's what I think.
I think that, we have all kinds... I think that individuals are responsible for what they do. Individuals are responsible. It's not your culture that makes you do something.
Asylum
it's not your culture that makes you do something. An individual.
Oh, yes,
no, it is not.
Culture does make you do something.
It's like what? So Catholicism makes priests rape people, is it?
Cultures,
no, those individuals are who did that.
Foster a belief.
Oh, sorry, that's true, is it? When it's white people who do it, it's true, but when it's not white people... What are you saying?
Many cultures,
white, by the way. Well, fine.
There are many cultures where admitting to this country who have no respect for women, who have different values to us, who see children as fair sexual game. That is a fact. We know it to be true. And we are importing those people into this country. Yeah. That's why those parents are protesting.
All right, we've got to move on. Jonathan, you are right. There has been a culture of sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. That is correct. Yes. And there's also a culture in some of these nations where migrants are coming from where they view women and girls differently. It's not controversial to say that. Both are true.
I think you can view women and girls. Obviously, I'm not saying that women and girls. I'm not saying that
everybody accepts it. It's not saying left or right.
I'm not saying that women have equal rights across all cultures. Obviously, I'm saying that sexual assault is always wrong, no matter who does it.
And we have to finish here, but you two will be back next hour. I can't wait. I don't know about you. And that's Jonathan and Carol. Thank you very much. We will be back with those two. But first, let's get the update for the news with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 10:33. Keir Starmer and India's Narendra Modi have signed off on a trade deal worth £6 billion in investment for the British economy today. The Prime Minister and his Indian counterpart have also reportedly agreed to ramp up joint efforts to tackle illegal migration and organised crime. Disorder in Essex was a, quote, signal flare of rising unrest and exposes cracks in police forces across the country. That's according to the head of a police body. There's been a series of demonstrations outside the Bell Hotel in Epping since an asylum seeker was charged with sexual assault this month. He denies those allegations. A national strategy to tackle pensioner poverty is needed, according to MPs. The Work and Pensions Committee has urged the government to also decide on a minimum level of retirement income. An armed conflict has erupted between Cambodia and Thailand, with 11 Thai civilians killed across 3 provinces. And Health Secretary Wes Streeting has reportedly told hospital leaders, "We have your backs," ahead of a 5-day strike by resident doctors. Those are the headlines for now. More news at 11 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Katie. Up next, we'll be joined by one top author and academic who believes Britain has been silenced on mass migration for years, and the nation is rightly furious. You really don't want to miss what's coming next. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Don't move muscle. We'll see you soon.
Hello and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Dry with sunny spells for many across the UK, but it will be a particularly wet day for those in eastern parts of England, and there'll be further rain arriving from the west later on as well. There's that area of rain arriving into Lincolnshire, into parts of East Anglia and then into London as we head later on through the morning. But for much of the UK, there'll be plenty of dry and bright spells with this frontal system arriving later on in towards the evening. Temperatures again are going to be around 18 to 20 degrees across the far north, warmest in the south, 24 or 25 for southern Wales and southern England. But underneath this cloud and with this rain and with this North Sea coastal breeze, it'll probably be feeling a little bit chillier across the far southeast of England. Here we can see temperatures around 18 degrees or so. Warmer though for Devon and Cornwall, and plenty of sunshine here. Wales seeing a nice day as well. Cumbria and for parts of western Scotland who saw quite a damp day on Wednesday, there'll be plenty more sunshine as well. Further north though, for parts of Shetland, there'll be some showers coming through as we head through the day as well. Through the rest of Thursday then, so that rain that was affecting London in the southeast will slowly start to move away as we head into the overnight period, and there will be lots of dry spells around, but this frontal system will be slowly and steadily moving eastwards as we head in towards Friday morning, arriving and giving some mild conditions, 14 to 16. Coolest temperatures will be in central parts in rural locations as well. But across the central parts of England, and particularly the southeast, will be a dry and bright start to the day on Friday. Further west, though, that frontal system, weakening as it moves eastwards, will introduce some further cloud and some quite rainy and drizzly conditions. Over high grounds of Wales, it could be quite murky as well there. Cooler across the far north, 17 to 20 degrees, but the warmth in London around 28 degrees.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists on the A726 at Mearnskirk Interchange face closures with signed diversions. The M4 is shut between junction 37 and 39. Lancashire's M6 southbound has lane closures due to a collision between junction 36 and 35. In East Riding of Yorkshire, a broken down vehicle causes a lane closure on the A63 eastbound. Staffordshire's A50 eastbound is congested with a 10-minute delay. And on the trains, Great Western Railway is disrupted, and Hull Trains operates reduced service due to industrial action. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back, 10:38, just about. Ben and Dawn with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, academic and free speech campaigner Frank Furedi has said that Britain is being silenced on mass migration, with the public's concerns ignored.
And this is led Downing Street officials fearing the nation is fraying at the edges as the nation's fury with migration and asylum hotels on the small boats continues to grow.
We're now joined by the man himself, Frank Furedi. Frank, thank you very much for joining us today. Very, very powerful piece you have written for the newspapers today. Tell us more about why you think what you've written today.
So I've done a lot of interviews with people over the last 4 or 5 years on the question of their lives, on how they feel about society, about multiculturalism. And the one thing that comes up time and time again is a lot of people say that they simply cannot express their views because if they express the slightest concern about what happens to society because of mass migration, they will be denounced as racists. And the use of the word racist to basically characterize any form of anxiety about a world that has changed around you means that a lot of people would rather keep their opinions to themselves, or maybe talk to their best friends, or when they go down to the pub, they know their mates. And this has led to a situation where a lot of people have, in a sense, have become increasingly angry, but also frustrated, because they cannot really tell the world what they actually feel about what's happening around them. And I think that what is happening at the moment in a lot of communities in British society is it's almost as if people have suddenly come to the conclusion that now is the time when they can express their views. A lot of people are saying enough is enough. And it's almost as if they've been given permission to say out loud what they've been feeling for a very, very long time.
Frank, do you think the word racist and the accusation of being racist, or you're a bigot, you're a racist, whatever, you're a xenophobe, do you think that means anything anymore? Don't you just think people who get that accusation levied at them should just, I don't know, not wear it with a badge of pride, but just say, OK, yeah, if you think that, fine. I think when you, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when you push back on that so much, because it isn't a nice thing to be called, because for most people, 99% of people, it's just not true. But do you not think people, especially from the right of centre, need to kind of change the way they react to that kind of barb?
I think we have to somehow become a bit more robust, stand up and express our views, and throw back in their faces the way they trivialize something that is actually a very bad thing, which is racism. And what they've done is they've normalized the idea that an average English person is racist. And that is tremendously harmful to society. So I think that we need to kind of push back. But at the same time, it's really, really important that we don't allow the charge of racism to be just said so casually. And I think particularly it's important for children, for our children to understand that if they are worried about what's happening about their world, they got every right to express their views. Because if the young kids learn to shut up and not say what they believe in, they're going to become highly infantilized, and they become unable to be genuinely independent.
Frank, I mean, we wanted to talk to you because, as you say in this piece, you've lived a long time. You lived in Eastern Europe before the fall of the Iron Curtain as well and the rest. And you say you recognise the signs that serious social unrest is in the air, and all it would take is one spark, an online rumour, a viral video clip, perhaps one comment on social media, and you call Britain a tinderbox waiting to go up in flames. Do you still think that's accurate?
I think so. I hope I'm proven wrong, because the last thing you want is an explosion, riots, or anything of that sort. But I think that there's a very profound sense of mistrust, and there's a lack of empathy between different communities, to the point at which it's very, very easy to misinterpret what people say to you. Very often you can say something and it will be called racist, or you can say something and people think that you're being aggressive, whereas all you're doing is basically stating a fact. So when you have such a high level of suspicion and mistrust, where people basically lack that capacity for solidarity, which is what every single community needs, then it's got all the makings of a social explosion, and that's really what I worry about. Because it's not something that's being recognized, and insofar as people recognize that there's a problem, there tends to be a reaction to ignore it altogether or to deflect it. So what the government does is it basically uses the standard excuse, oh, it's only a handful of far-right people who think like that. Most people aren't at all like that, and they overlook the fact that actually, most people in this world of ours in England are genuinely concerned. There's a kind of silent sense of insecurity, which is part and parcel of their lives, and that's something that can very easily lead to some kind of social explosion.
Frank, you've written in the Daily Mail about how we got to this point, some context and background, and you said that the country has long been deliberately undermined by our political leaders and the state itself. And you quote the most senior civil servant in the country under 3 prime ministers between 2005 and 2011. Gus O'Donnell is his name. He once boasted, and I quote, "At the Treasury, I argued for the most open door possible to immigration. I think it's my job to maximise global welfare, not national welfare." What does that tell us?
It basically means that as far as O'Donnell is concerned, the British nation comes second to every other concern. So he is concerned about global solidarity. and he's quite indifferent to the consequence of that for British society. And in a sense, what we see has happened since 2004 is a systematic attempt to re-engineer British society. So it's no longer based on its traditional values, but upon a more multicultural set of outlooks, which is totally different to what it used to be. And what that means is that British society gradually becomes something that is very alien, very, very, very different to what existed before. And people have never been consulted about it. I cite a Home Office document which makes the point very, very clearly that their job is to promote the idea of a mass migration-led society as being more positive than what existed beforehand. And that's the key point here. If you're told time and time again that a society of immigrants is superior to a society that existed before, what you really are doing is telling British people that their culture is inferior to this new, very modern, multicultural one.
Frank, very much. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Very strong words there. Thank you, Frank Ferretti there, talking about the potential summer of unrest we are facing and what we can do about it. I thought very interesting to talk to him, and especially given Frank's experience of living in Europe, and particularly Eastern Europe, and the civil unrest that has been experienced in those countries. But this show, as we always keep saying, is all about you. So gbnews.com/your say. Let us know what you've thought about what Frank had to say. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, check out his column if you can on the Daily Mail. It was published today. Very enlightening piece. Right, moving on. England women are holding a press conference in Zurich as the Lionesses prepare to take on Spain in the Euro finals on Sunday. It's their third successive final. Of course, Dawn, we're right behind them here at GB News.
I certainly am.
Yeah.
But if you are in search of some holiday sun, before we get to that, here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're off on your holidays this week, let's take a look at the weather across Europe. So, particularly hot for Italy and Greece, but further west, particularly windy for the Canary Islands and down the western coast of Portugal and in particularly the southwestern part of the Mediterranean. Thunderstorms for southeastern Spain, across France and northern Italy, but it's southern Italy and Greece that will be looking particularly hot, warmer than usual, and that heat is likely to last into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable. What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good morning, welcome back to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben Leo and Dawn Neeson. Police have admitted they're not prepared for a repeat of last summer's protest.
Yeah. And just before we do go to Mark White, who's joined us in the studio, and I talk about that, lots of you have been getting in touch about our interview we've just done with Frank Furedi, saying you totally... I've never seen such a response. Totally agree with every word he said, so do keep them coming in. That's about the summer of unrest, which is now what we're talking to Mark White about. Mark?
Yes, indeed. We should say it's obviously the police are not saying that they're not prepared. It's their union, effectively, for rank and file officers, the Police Federation, who've been interviewed for the Daily Telegraph, and they are expressing real concerns about the ability of police forces to be able to respond in a timely manner through the mutual system, which, of course, is neighbouring forces that can very quickly provide extra resources if a force is dealing with a very significant and serious situation, because of the way in which the Federation say policing has been diminished over the years. It's becoming much more difficult. And also the demands on the police service, quite rightly, people want the police to focus, and politicians are telling them to focus a lot more on dealing with violent crime, on dealing with shoplifting and burglaries and the kind of crimes that people come across every day in their lives that make their lives an absolute misery. But their ability to do that is clearly impacted if they have to not even deal with disorder, but obviously turn up to police multiple protests. So that, and I'm afraid that seems to be an increasing task that the police are going to be faced with at the moment. We've seen it in the hotel, the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. We've seen it at a hotel in Norfolk. Mm-hmm. We've seen it, of course, at the Bell Hotel in Epping. There is, at the moment, clearly a focus again on asylum hotels. And
also Bournemouth and Southampton, evidently, we're hearing now as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, tensions are running high, and issues, of course, that then are, you know, that because we should say, with regard to the sort of Bell Hotel at Epping, that sprang from a specific issue, an allegation against an asylum seeker from that hotel, who was subsequently charged with sexual offences against a young girl, something that he denies, and it's going through the court process. But issues and incidents will spark protests, and we're seeing that increasingly.
Yeah, two have popped up near me, but of course they don't have to, or they, as far as I can tell, Mark, they don't regularly tell the community they're popping up, because Newcastle City Council, for example, said over the weekend or last week, we are protecting residents' concerns on that. Mark, just a question semi-personally about you. You've been on this beat for, you know, many, many years. You're top of your game. How has policing changed during your time doing this?
Well, I mean, it's changed in lots of ways. You know, it's I think sort of policing probably 20 years ago, the officers probably would take a lot less in the way of the behaviour from certain groups within protest. They would be in there and they would be dealing with a lot more robustly than they are at the moment.
And Mark, we will be talking to you more in the next hour, hopefully. We're coming back soon, but first is the weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Dry with sunny spells for many across the UK, but it will be a particularly wet day for those in eastern parts of England, and there'll be further rain arriving from the west later on as well. There's that area of rain arriving into Lincolnshire, into parts of East Anglia and then into London as we head later on through the morning. But for much of the UK, there'll be plenty of dry and bright spells with this frontal system arriving later on in towards the evening. Temperatures, again, are going to be around 18 to 20 degrees across the far north, warmest in the south, 24 or 25 for southern Wales and southern England. But underneath this cloud and with this rain and with this North Sea coastal breeze, it'll probably be feeling a little bit chillier across the far southeast of England. Here we can see temperatures around 18 degrees or so. Warmer though for Devon and Cornwall, and plenty of sunshine here. Wales seeing a nice day as well. Cumbria and for parts of western Scotland who saw quite a damp day on Wednesday, there'll be plenty more sunshine as well. Further north though, for parts of Shetland, there'll be some showers coming through as we head through the day as well. Through the rest of Thursday then, so that rain that was affecting London and the southeast will slowly start to move away as we head into the overnight period, and there will be lots of dry spells around, but this frontal system will be slowly and steadily moving eastwards as we head in towards Friday morning, arriving and giving some mild conditions, 14 to 16. Coolest temperatures will be in central parts in rural locations as well. But across the central parts of England, and particularly the southeast, will be a dry and bright start to the day on Friday. Further west, though, that frontal system, weakening as it moves eastwards, will introduce some further cloud and some quite rainy and drizzly conditions. Over high grounds of Wales, it could be quite murky as well there. Cooler across the far north, 17 to 20 degrees, but the warmth in London around 28 degrees.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 11 a.m. on Britain's Newsroom on GB News. It's Thursday, July the 24th, with Ben Leo and Dawn Neeson.
Good morning to you. The police federations warned the force is not ready for a summer of unrest as tensions grow over migrant hotels.
Well, the police federation believe that having to support all of the protests and police them, that they're not going to have enough resources around the country.
Jackpot migrants. Some asylum seekers are having a flutter at your expense in casinos using taxpayer-funded cards.
And the Prime Minister and his Indian counterpart, Narendra Modi, have signed a trade deal between the two countries this morning.
2 million pensioners in Britain are currently in poverty as MPs from all parties demand a UK-wide strategy to tackle the problem. We'll have the latest.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax and enjoy the takeoff.
Air Miles Angela, Deputy PM Angela Rayner's Housing and Local Government team, Housing and Local Government, that's the point, have racked up enough air miles in a year to fly almost 13 times around the world.
We're going to be meeting with the British Prime Minister, very respected, and we are going to have a meeting with him probably in Aberdeen, and we're going to do a lot of different things.
There he is, US President Donald Trump. He'll touch down in Scotland tomorrow. The excitement must be building north of the border.
Yes, I'm here at Turnberry in Ayrshire, one of Donald Trump's 2 Scottish resorts, and we're just at the barrier now, one of the checkpoints where vehicles are coming in. A very tight, slick police operation already underway here in preparation of the President's visit tomorrow.
Okay, now we're going straight to Sir Keir Starmer, who's speaking with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi after signing that trade deal this morning.
That requires us to step up, not to stand aside, to deliver for the British people by building deeper partnerships and alliances. And today is very much confirmation of that approach.
और अभी वहाँ पे बात जब कर रहे थे आपके साथ बैठ के हमने बातें की कि नई ग्लोबल इरा पैदा करनी है और इसके लिए हमको सब कुछ करना है बहुत ही बड़ी पार्टनरशिप मिलेगी आपके देश से और यहाँ पे हम करने वाले हैं उससे दोनों देशों को फ़ायदा होगा.
And the UK has been negotiating a deal like this for many years. But it is this government that got it done. And with it, we're sending a very powerful message that Britain is open. And that is already generating huge confidence. Today, we're announcing nearly £6 billion in investment and export wins between India and the United Kingdom, creating over 2,200 jobs for British workers.
और ये जो ऐसी नेगोशिएशन मैं पहले बहुत की है पर ये जो अभी हमने किया है ये बहुत ही बड़ा होगा क्योंकि ब्रिटिश लोगों को और संसार को ये जानेंगे कि ब्रिटेन इज़ ओपन फॉर बिजनेस, व्यापार के लिए खुला है और ये ब्रिटिश लोगों के लिए भी बहुत अच्छा होगा क्योंकि ये 6 बिलियन पाउंड्स के 6 बिलियन पाउंड्स यहाँ पे नहीं पैदा होगा और यूके और इंडिया ने जो ये साथ काम करने का निर्णय किया है इससे 2200 जॉब्स
But of course, we've discussed this morning, this is not the extent or the limit of our collaboration with India. We have unique bonds of history, of family, and we want to strengthen our relationship further so that it is even more ambitious, modern and focused on the long term, the step up in the relationship that we discussed in the autumn of last year. And that's why, alongside this trade deal, I am delighted that we're building on our partnership by launching our India-UK Vision 2035 strategy, pledging to work more...
OK, that was the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, there in Buckinghamshire with the Indian Prime Minister Modi signing that trade deal, announcing the trade deal. He says, the Prime Minister, will be worth £6 billion to the UK, amongst other benefits. Catherine Forster is with us now to break it down. Catherine, what's your reaction to this?
Well, he's saying huge benefits to both countries. We've had a few of these deals, haven't we? We've had one with the EU, we've had one with America, we've had one with India. I think this is a win. This is a win for the government. The Tories were trying to get one for years. Boris Johnson used to talk about it. There were always lots of sticking points, particularly over visas for Indians. But look, it's going to be good news for British business. India, obviously, a massive market. The tariffs on British goods will be reduced from an average of 15% to 3%. Especially good for whisky industry, for cars, and also it'll make it cheaper, Indian goods cheaper here. Some controversy about the national insurance arrangements about Indians coming to work here. The Tories say that's going to undercut British workers. The government saying absolutely not, and they've got similar deals with...
So what is the NI situation? Indian workers who come here won't be charged NI, same as employers?
Yes. So basically, if you're on a short-term contract of up to 3 years working for an Indian company, you won't pay national insurance here. You'll pay it in India.
You pay it in India.
You'll pay it in India. And hence the argument, well, that's going to undercut British workers. But the government's saying that's absolutely not. This is totally standard. They've got similar deals, they say, with 50 other countries when you're coming to work on a contract for 1, 2 or 3 years. So the government's argument is nothing to see here. Worth saying that part of it is actually still being negotiated. But no, I would say this is a win for the government. And unlike the American trade deal that was sort of trumpeted so loudly, there will be benefits. Whereas with the American deal, that puts us in a better situation than we were when Trump introduced all the tariffs, but still worse off than we were before Donald Trump came in and decided to slap these tariffs on the world.
Right.
So,
can I just go back to the visa situation, Catherine? Because, I mean, surely, I mean, idiot understanding on my level here, it means that it will be cheaper for British companies to employ Indian workers. So when they say nothing to see here, that sounds like there kind of is something to see here.
well, it's all very technical, but they're actually saying that the numbers of people that will be coming in on these visas are very small. It will be for very specific industries where there is a shortage, and that it all balances out because British workers going there and so on and so forth. So you will get an entirely different analysis of this from opposition parties and from the government. But it is true, it would seem obvious that you would think that that would undercut British workers.
Yes.
But it is also true that the UK has a similar arrangement with 50 other countries.
India is, of course, a rising and emerging economy, one of the biggest countries in the world. £6 billion, though, doesn't sound like a massive figure when you take that into consideration.
£6 billion in investment into the UK economy is what they're saying, and they are saying that this will bring us an average of, I think, 4.8 billion a year extra as this rolls out. It isn't instant. It will have to go through Parliament, and these tariffs will change quite gradually. But 4.8 billion a year, not to be sneezed at.
No, I'm sure Rachel Reeves would appreciate that. And what are the Tories saying about this?
Well, the Tories will be rubbishing it on the grounds of the national insurance. But look, They wanted this deal and they didn't get it, and Labour did. Labour haven't had many wins lately, let's face it. They've had a pretty bumpy first year. They're plunged in the polls. They will be looking for good news wherever they can find it, and I think they can legitimately say that this is a bit of good news.
OK, can we move on to the other subject, political news this morning, about pensioner poverty? Baroness Ros Altman was on talking earlier about it. Can you explain a bit more about this report?
Yes. So the Commons Work and Pensions Committee has basically... They're warning about what they say is a tsunami of pensioner poverty, and they're saying that the government needs to ensure that retired people have got a minimal level of income to ensure that they are dignified, socially acceptable standard of living, because although pensioner poverty did fall in the noughties, it has been rising, and particularly with the cost of living that we've all been living through since 2021. So a lot of pensioners are finding it really difficult to make ends meet. So again, more demands for more money. People are struggling. The government would point out that pension credit, you can claim up to £4,000 a year in pension credit, depending on your income. There's about 700,000 people who don't claim that. That's money that they are entitled to. So people should look. If you can get pension credit, it's a complicated process.
Complicated.
But go through it, because not only is it up to £4,000, but it also unlocks lots of other benefits as well.
Yeah, and this was a cross-party meeting and brief, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this is a cross-party work and pensions committee. The chair is Debbie Abrahams. She's Labour. But no, it's interested in MPs on all sides, calling for a new strategy. But the problem is there's not much money. We haven't got the growth. Everything feels, the doctors are striking again tomorrow. The welfare reforms didn't happen because Labour MPs have it just feels like there's so many people wanting more money, so many demands, so many people struggling, and without the growth that Labour promised, it's very hard to see where this money's going to come from.
Yeah, and indeed we have an ageing population, so that's a situation that's even worse. Catherine, thank you so much, as always, for joining. Catherine Forster there for us. OK, now Donald Trump is set to begin his 5-day visit to Scotland tomorrow.
GBNews Scotland reporter Tony Maguire is there. He's on the ground in Turnberry, home to one of Donald Trump's courses. Tony, good morning. What's the atmosphere like? Is the excitement building?
Good morning. Well, it's really hard to say, honestly. Certainly what is building is the police presence here around Turnberry. Now, obviously, with the President visits town, then operational notes are very hush-hush until the very last minute. We don't know when or where the President's going to be, but we do know that he's going to visit his 2 Scottish resorts. Now, one of them is here in Turnberry in Ayrshire, a world-class golf course, the Ailsa course, revered in the game around the world. And, of course, then we're going to see him open his new course, called the New Course, up in Aberdeen, and we know that that is also going to be seeing the opening of a memorial garden to his Scottish mother, Mary Ann MacLeod. Now, Donald Trump himself, half Scottish, really holds Scotland in very high reverence, and we know that he is going to have his presidential visit, his state visit in September. And this is something else. This is very much a personal visit for business and, if you like, a little rest and relaxation. Though how much of that he's going to see is really anyone's guess. He is scheduled to meet Sir Keir Starmer as well as John Swinney in the coming days, and they're expected to talk a lot about global politics, like the likes of Ukraine and the ongoing humanitarian issues in Gaza. And of course the trade deal, this all-important trade deal between 2 of the world's strongest allies. They're going to nail down a number of points relating to the trade deal. Chief among them, hopes John Swinney, will be whisky and Scottish salmon. They are the 2 biggest food and drink exports coming out of the UK to America. And John Swinney, I caught up with him a couple of days ago just to talk about what he hopes he can gain from this important meeting with the President when he visits this weekend.
People will appreciate, I think, the necessity of the First Minister of Scotland meeting with the President of the United States when he comes to Scotland, and my job is to protect and to promote the interests of Scotland, and that's what I'll be doing in the dialogue with President Trump. We've got significant economic ties that it's important that we nurture to sustain and develop those economic opportunities, and that will be the focus of the discussions that I take forward. And of course that will also happen within the context of a period of significant economic of international turmoil, and many of those issues are important for us to make sure that I set out the perspective of Scotland in that respect.
Now, at this end of the Turnberry course, there is a few houses very, very close to the perimeter of the resort, and I spoke to a lovely lady who stopped her car for me today, a GB News viewer no less. Patrick, you have another fan up here in Scotland, but she said she's actually leaving for the weekend because as much as she's a fan of the President, she says that the whole circus that is involved with his arrival is enough to let her go away for a long weekend.
Great stuff. Thanks, Tony. Yep, it's going to be an interesting and exciting for some weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Turnberry. Then he'll be in Aberdeen at the Trump International, opening that new second course. Very good.
And it's got to be good for Scotland, surely. The investment in Scotland, it's got to be making money for Scotland, attracting more business to Scotland. Surely it's got to be a good thing.
Hundreds of millions of pounds, lots of jobs, brand new world-class course, attracting all the best players in the world. But yeah, Orange Man bad. Don't let Trump in Scotland.
You got your membership yet for the golf club?
For Trump International, yeah. I'm bad. I'm awful at golf. I'll tell you what I'm good at is putting.
Putting?
Because I live...
Like crazy golf?
I grew up by the seaside, and of course there's sort of little putting courses, so I always putt, but I can't drive. I go to a driving range and can't drive.
It's absolutely. But, I mean, it sounds like an amazing investment in Scotland. Just want to read one of your messages out, because lots of you are getting in touch about what Catherine Forster was just talking about pensioners in poverty. Andy has messaged in, and a lot of you are agreeing with Andy, saying, I think Labour has pensioners where he wants them, poor and worse off than a migrant. Which a lot of you are agreeing with that. And when you think about it, the stories we're covering this morning, you've got migrants, illegal migrants, many of them, in four-star hotels, and, you know, we have, on average, 5,000 pensioners die every winter because they're of the cold.
Well, it was Labour's own research when they were in opposition saying that axing the winter fuel allowance would cause up to 4,000 pensioner deaths. Not sure what changed between...
Well, they have gone back on that, but it wasn't because they thought they were doing the wrong thing, it's because they thought they would lose votes.
Yeah.
That's where we are at the moment. In any case, keep those thoughts coming in at gbnews.com/your say.
OK, up next, this sound is very familiar to the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax and enjoy the takeoff.
Well, it's her department, actually. The Deputy PM's housing and local government team racked up, Dawn, how many air miles?
It's 13 times around the world. I don't know how many miles that is, but it's an awful lot, especially when you are housing and local government, which means you should be, like, in the UK.
Local?
Local. Anyway, call me silly. But we will be doing that story very soon. This is Britain's Newsroom. GB News, I'll get to We'll see you soon.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11:20. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom with Ben and Dawn. And we've got a treat for you now. We're joined by Carol Malone and Jonathan Lee. Stand by your beds, people, going through the newspapers, and you know it's going to be feisty. Carol, should we start with you first?
Yes. Well,
try not to be so shy and retiring.
I'll try my best. I'll try and push myself forward with what I think. OK, so the doctor strike starts tomorrow.
Yes.
Terrifying for everyone. 5 days of strikes. It's the 12th time they've done it in the last 2.5 years. But what has really intrigued me today is the boss of the BMA, who was the guy in charge of their union, the guy who's brought them out on strike, is a guy called Tom Dolphin. This bloke is unhinged. And you can see why the BMA is going where it's going. He actually once compared Brexit to rape.
No, he didn't, Carol.
Yes, he did.
No,
Do you want to read it out? It's very boring, but that's exactly what he did.
Read it out.
And look at the headline in every paper, Jonathan.
Read it out.
He did. And he also compared an alleged murderer to Jesus. Remember the guy?
No, he didn't.
Can you just let me finish? He did. The guy who's alleged to have shot the health chief in New York.
Yes.
Right, he's a guy called Luigi Mangione. This BMA boss almost sanctified him. He was given reasons why he'd actually done it. And compared him to Jesus.
This is an outrageous smear.
Okay,
he was pointing out, look, in the
because he's a really good guy.
In the whole Mangione thing, he was pointing out that disgraceful picture where they kind of paraded him down the pier on the way to his arrest. They even got the New York mayor. The New York mayor even did a perp walk. This completely unprecedented and outrageous. And this doctor even said, to be clear, Mangione is alleged to have used violence to further his cause, and Jesus did quite the opposite. I was just struck by the visual imagery. He did not compare them.
Well,
and on the rape
compare
thing,
him to Jesus.
the rape thing, he said. This reminds me of when Ian Duncan Smith said Theresa May's deal was as close to a national humiliation as I've seen.
You're boring the nation now.
Well, you made
right, let's just get back on.
You made a comparison. You made the allegation.
Not just me, Jonathan.
I'm saying he
Every
didn't.
single newspaper today has reported
it to
people
rape.
can read about
He
it.
did not
yes,
compare
he did.
it
He
to
said
rape.
the fear that women feel about rape is the same fear
He didn't
that
say
people
that.
feel
He
about
didn't say
Brexit.
that. He said that people on different sides have different impressions of what a threat is.
Right.
And the Brexit is going to cause real harm.
Can we move on to talk about the people who are going to be put at risk by this strike?
Jonathan, going on strike tomorrow, we already know 7.2 million people on the waiting list. People are going to die because of this strike. It should be called off, surely.
I don't think that people are going to die because of the strike.
5 people have died because of the other strikes.
I think that, look, doctors...
Look, why don't I address that? 5 people have died because of the other strike action.
How do you... What evidence...
Well, I'll give you the evidence. Do you want the evidence? Coroner's evidence said their lives were linked to... Their deaths were linked to the strikes. How much more evidence do you need?
I think that when you have doctors, they go on strike, they don't go on strike... lightly.
Yes, they do.
No,
12 times in 3 years.
No, they don't.
12 times.
Look, I actually have. If you're prepared to listen to me, I have a nuanced.
Well,
opinion.
don't say things that are nonsense.
I have a
They don't like striking. Yes, they do.
They don't like striking. They are there to save lives. But if they feel they've been hard done by, obviously they need to demonstrate the value of that labour.
They did say they were excited about going on strike.
Yes, they did.
Just saying.
Look,
That's the deputy.
I think that they were right to go on strike before because they had clearly been shafted by successive Tory governments. However, in the settlement they received, that was a pretty generous settlement. And even though I accept the point that they make, that it still represents an overall real terms pay cut compared to what they were earning in 2010.
No, it does not.
The
figures that they... No, you can't keep...
That's what they say.
Keep on. They say it's not true. The Institute of Fiscal Studies has debunked the BMA's claims that they're earning less now than they were in 2003, you know, realistic. They've debunked those claims because they've said the figures were arrived by them using the retail price index instead of the consumer price index. So those figures have been debunked.
Can we move on? Angela Rayner's department, the Housing and Local Government Department, Jonathan, have racked up enough air miles in a year to fly almost 13 times around the world. Why would the Housing and Local Government Department need to fly abroad?
OK, so I have another slightly nuanced perspective on this. On the one hand, I don't think that Angela Rayner, with her brief, needs to be travelling the world quite as much as she appears to have done. But on the other hand, she is the Deputy Prime Minister, and Deputy Prime Ministers have the right to go and represent Britain on behalf of the Prime Minister, and that's completely
Why do you think she would need to go to Ethiopia and Ghana in February this year when we have a housing crisis in this country, when we have tens of thousands of migrants to house? She's building houses there. Why would she have to go to Ethiopia and Ghana? And you remember, this was the trip where she asked if she could go on a safari at taxpayers' expense.
Well, I don't know if she was asking to go at taxpayers' expense.
Yeah, she did. Yes, she was. She took... Jonathan, you keep on saying... This was documented at the time. She asked the Home Office if she could use taxpayers' money
I thought that she was asked... I thought that she asked if she could sort of go just have some time
she asked if she could...
Obviously, if someone is taking holidays on public money,
in the trough.
That's wrong. If they are sort of taking time from a public trip to go on a private holiday afterwards, that's fine.
Here's a bit of colour for you. Rayner moved into Admiralty House, originally built to house the First Lord of the Admiralty in December. It's an 18th century Whitehall base, last used by Labour Deputy Lord Prescott. The Grace and Favour House has been split into function rooms and 3 ministerial flats.
She has one.
Rayner's moved into one of them.
OK.
It emerged this week that Rayner bought 2 beds costing nearly £7,000 for her flat in January. Wow. And they were then installed, interestingly, on Valentine's Day. Who's paying for those beds?
But isn't this interesting? This would be the woman who, when the Tories were in power, would be the first to lambast the Tories for having their snouts in the trough, for living off the taxpayers. And here she is. And that...
Well, so you think she shouldn't be entitled to live in a Grace and Favour house?
Let me talk, yeah? OK.
You kept on interrupting me, Carol.
Let me make a point.
You think that she shouldn't be allowed to live in a Grace and Favour house?
This is the woman who, I will try and say it again, this is the woman who was screaming at the Tories for having their snouts in the trough. And now she's living in an apartment in Admiralty House, which was actually once lived in by Churchill. Can you believe that? Anyway,
Buckingham Palace
she's
just down the mount.
Prime Minister. She's entitled to live in an official home.
Yeah, but what we were talking about before, she's not entitled to fly around the world and spend...
But we're talking about the beds now. Should she populate a Grace and Favour home with IKEA beds?
Could she not have got 2 beds that didn't cost £7 grand?
£3,500 beds each. Who at home, viewers?
Yes.
Lovely viewers. Have you ever spent £3,500 grand on a bed?
Yeah, exactly.
Look,
Angela Rayner did. She used your money to do it.
Personally, I would not spend that much money.
Well, never mind you. We're talking about the Deputy Prime Minister using taxpayers' money to spend on luxury beds.
Look,
the same Deputy Prime Minister that seems jetting around the world, her department has used enough air miles to fly almost 13 times around the world in the short
And on the face of it, I agree that sounds excessive. But at the same time, I can see, and I've just identified why, as a Deputy Prime Minister,
you don't think she's a hypocrite?
No, I don't. Your official duties will include travelling the world and building relationships with other countries on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Not when your job is housing and local... What's her
She's also the Deputy Prime Minister.
Local government department.
She's also the Deputy Prime Minister.
She was also one of the more vocal ones criticising the previous government, the Conservatives, for their use of helicopters and private jets for flying around.
There's no evidence that she's been using some, private jets to go from one city in England to another city.
No, but she was very...
You just never will
Jonathan, do you know who you remind me of? Chemical Alley in Baghdad.
The
tanks were rolling into Baghdad behind, and the
Yeah.
I literally just
Jonathan
told
Liss
you
is
what...
standing there. Jonathan Liss is standing there saying absolutely
so
nothing to see
stupid,
here.
Ben. I've literally just said to you, I've given you nuanced arguments where I say, yes, this sounds
Why
excessive.
can't you just
yes,
say,
I wouldn't spend
this
this much
looks
money.
like a
Sorry,
very-
I don't agree with you on everything, Ben. That's why we're on television debating.
This is a very clear case.
Not Chemical Alley.
A very clear case of snout in the trough, and you will not
Comical Alley was his
condemn
name
her.
by the press.
Comical Alley. A Tory source said of the beds, first we had 2 Jags John Prescott, and now we have Angela 2 Beds Rayner, a woman of the people she is not.
Oh, this is just snobbery. People don't like her spending money because they think that she has ideas above her station. If it was, you know, it's like a Tory, Eden-educated man, no one would say a second thing about it.
Yes, they would.
Because it's Angela Rayner, they think, oh, how
Yes, they
dare
would.
Angela Rayner spend money on things that are expensive. She has no right to it. That's what it is. Admit it, just own it.
If it was Nigel Farage spending £3.5 of taxpayer money on a
you'd
bed.
love it.
Yeah, OK.
We were very vocally critical of the golden wallpaper by Boris Johnson, so that was... Yeah,
£3.5 on a bed, viewers, of your money. £7 grand.
Okay.
Admiralty House.
Thank you very, very much,
Grace and
Jonathan
Favour
Liss and
flat.
Carol Malone.
Woman of the
thank
people.
you. Please do let me know. Please do let me know how much money you're spending on a bed at the moment. GBNews.com/you'll say. Carol and Jonathan, thank you both so much. Always a pleasure to have you in the studio. Right, OK. Oh, dear. Shall we get your 60-second news update with Katie Bowen?
Good morning. The headlines at 11:30. Sir Keir Starmer and India's Narendra Modi have signed off on a trade deal worth £6 billion in investment for the British economy, with the Prime Minister labelling it a landmark moment. He added that the agreement was the biggest and most economically significant trade deal Britain has made since Brexit. Disorder in Essex was a, quote, signal flare of rising unrest and exposes cracks in police forces across the country. That's according to the head of a police body. There's been a series of demonstrations outside the Bell Hotel in Epping since an asylum seeker was charged with sexual assault this month. He denies those allegations. A national strategy to tackle pensioner poverty is needed, according to MPs. The Work and Pensions Committee has urged the government to also decide on a minimum level of retirement income. An armed conflict has erupted between Cambodia and Thailand, with 11 Thai civilians killed across 3 provinces. And Health Secretary Wes Streeting has reportedly told hospital leaders, "We have your backs," ahead of a 5-day strike by resident doctors. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news at 12 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Up at noon is Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. Emily, did you have a nice birthday yesterday?
I did actually, yes. Thank you for asking. Do you know what? It was very sweet of Tom to bring me a cake. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it to be such an appropriate cake, a little girly Connie the caterpillar.
Connie, yes, Connie the caterpillar.
As opposed to Colin.
Although we did speak to someone this morning who was listening to the show on the radio, and when Emily said, "I'm going to cut the bottom off," to people
I want
that
the
didn't
bottom,
know
I think
what
I said.
I want the bottom. To people that didn't know it was a caterpillar-shaped cake and just thought it was a cake, I mean, that would have been very confusing.
The listeners do know that you two have an interesting relationship, so there could have been anything going
We
on.
do.
To be honest.
As I approach maternity leave, I am thinking more about how I will miss our little interactions every day, on a daily basis.
Well, we can always send Tom round to...
I know sometimes our viewers say that I'm a bit mean to Tom sometimes.
Oh, well,
but what they don't know is that there's a real relationship.
I'm sure he'll be knocking at your door every Sunday morning.
This is far too sentimental. Shall we get on to
I think I'm getting a bit emotional, you know.
Oh, you're going to miss him,
Anyway, we've got some hard-hitting news, including wind auctions, apparently, Tom.
Oh, this is actually very, very serious, right? So Ed Miliband has been very busy in terms of how much he's going to pay for offshore wind energy. The Climate Change Committee thinks that wind is going to cost about £38 per megawatt hour. Can you guess what the wind auction looks like it's going to be paying?
What Ed's going to pay?
Not £38 per megawatt hour like the Climate Change Committee think.
90.
More.
Oh, my goodness.
100?
113.
We're getting ripped off, Dawn, left, right and centre.
No. All of the assumptions are that renewables are going to be cheap. All of the internal data from the government is based on this £38 per megawatt hour number. It looks like we're going to be paying £113 per megawatt hour for offshore wind instead.
So we've just been discussing pensioner poverty, right?
Yeah.
5,000 pensioners die at the cold because they can't afford their heating bills as they are. Who's going to pay for all this?
I mean, it's 3 times more expensive than it could have been, and this is locking that price in for 20 years. These are 20-year contracts. We're going to be speaking to the Shadow Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho, in, about an hour's time, who's going to absolutely expose this. It was snuck out during parliamentary recess so that people couldn't look at this data, but it's huge.
Don't you think that we just get ripped off left, right and centre by our useless politicians
Well, Angela
who
Rayner's
can't negotiate themselves out of a plastic bag?
Angela Rayner's got a £3.5 grand bed in Admiralty House.
2 of them, actually.
2.
Oh, I heard Jonathan Liss saying that it's snobbery.
Oh, yeah. Somehow calling out taxpayer-funded £7 grand beds is snobbery.
And it's just because she's a working class woman.
Well, no, because Dawn said rightly as well, people called out Boris Johnson for the wallpaper, which I think turned out to be not true anyway.
Well, yeah, but I've never let the facts get in the way of the story.
Course,
but he was
Keir
called out on
Starmer's
it.
suits and his wife's dresses from Wahid Ali.
Lots of wind coming up.
Lots of wind coming up and some sun.
Lots of hot air.
All of that at midday.
Never from us.
Thank you very much. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lively one. Thank you very much. Now, coming up next, find out how some asylum seekers are having a flutter at casinos using your money and getting away with it. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today, for many, the weather's looking largely fine. However, there will be some rain around, particularly towards the southeast. There's a weak front gradually making its way southwards as we go through into this afternoon, and that's going to bring some relatively heavy rain across some parts, particularly East Anglia, maybe across London and into Kent as we go through the next few hours. Further north, there will be a bit more cloud at times and some outbreaks of rain possible and a few showers here and there as well. But otherwise, for most, it's a largely fine picture and there should be some bright sunny spells breaking out. Where you get the sunshine, it's going to feel pretty warm, temperatures peaking in the low to mid-20s for most of us, but feeling fresher under that cloud and rain towards the east and southeast. Now, as we go into this evening, that rain is going to continue across some parts of the far southeast, but eventually it will clear away. And then otherwise, apart from a few showers dotted here and there, it's largely fine to end the day, albeit quite cloudy for many. And across Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, we're going to see thicker cloud pushing its way in as we go through the end of the day and overnight. That's because there's another front waiting out in the west. This doesn't look particularly intense, so it's not going to bring a huge amount of rain, but nonetheless, like I say, it is going to turn quite cloudy and we're going to see some damp weather feeding into parts of Scotland and also across Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, a lot of dry weather to be had once that rain clears away from the southeast and some clear skies. With that, there is the potential for a few pockets of mist and fog to develop in some places, but temperatures not dropping a huge amount, generally staying in the low to mid-teens for most of us. Then through tomorrow, a bit of a damp grey picture across parts of western Scotland, maybe the far north as well. Orkney and Shetland seeing a few spots of rain. A little bit of rain pushing into parts of Cumbria and perhaps the far northwest of Wales as well. But elsewhere, a lot of dry weather to be had, drier than today across parts of the east, southeast, and temperatures peaking in the mid to high 20s.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, good morning. It is 11:38. Bang on. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben and Dawn.
There's just 2 weeks remaining in our current Great British giveaway. It's your chance, of course, to win an incredible £54,321. What would you do with 54 grand?
Oh,
you can't enter, of course.
Well, no, I'm not allowed to enter.
Hypothetically.
It's tax-free. That's what I'd just be grateful I haven't got to give it to Angela Rayner, to be honest with you.
Well, how many beds could you buy with that? 7, 4,
Oh, that's it. Don't do the maths. But
9 beds?
We can't win it, but you can. Here's the details.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you can win our biggest cash prize so far. £54,321 in tax-free cash is up for grabs in our summer Great British giveaway. Cash to spend on anything you like. All of that cash could send you on a holiday, boost your savings, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You buy 15 beds.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Meanwhile, Ben is completely obsessed with Angela Rayner's beds now. You've actually worked it out to the nearest penny now, exactly how many beds you can get. And does that include the mattresses?
No, £500 for installation, though. For me, the story, sorry to go back to it, it just personifies everything that's wrong with the way that elected officials, government, the state, spend our money. It's not their money, so they don't care. £7,000 on 2 end-of-life beds for a grace and favour home for the Deputy Prime Minister.
What does end-of-life mean?
I don't know, they're a bit knackered, I guess. I mean, how many people at home can afford to buy new beds when they become end of life? I mean, you just get the screwdriver out, but I don't know.
Bit weird, don't know.
£7,000 of taxpayer money. It's not a big figure in the grand scheme of the the budget or whatever, but it just personifies. It's the litmus test of how they regard you and your money. They think they can just fleece you. I mean, we know it anyway.
And if you can't afford a nice bed, you can always go and stay in a nice hotel. Oh, no, you can't, because they're all booked out already, aren't they? Anyway, shall we move on? A Daily Mail exclusive reveals that thousands of migrants, indeed, are using taxpayer handouts at casinos and betting shops.
Yeah, this is according to Home Office data that around 6,500 asylum seekers have used their government-issued cards. They're called Aspen cards. Or at least once for gambling. OK, we're now joined by human rights lawyer and broadcaster David Hay. David, good to see you. Always good to talk to you, obviously. David, what's going on here?
Hi, good morning to you both. I mean, essentially where this all comes from, and with the hotels as well, is that under existing laws, the Home Office has a duty to support asylum seekers and their dependents who would otherwise be destitute. That's the basic law, and that's where we see the hotels coming from, and that's where we're seeing what happens. Say, for instance, if you're an asylum seeker and you're in self-catering accommodation, you get about £50 a week put onto effectively a debit card, which is meant to be used for your daily essentials. Obviously, gambling is not one of those. And therein lies the problem. I mean, what appears to have happened here is a Freedom of Information request has revealed that effectively a lot of these cards are being used in gambling institutions. And obviously, that's not what subsistence allowance is for. So I think that's therein lies the problem.
Doing stories on these Aspen cards many years ago, and I was of the understanding that they could only be used in supermarkets, in grocery shops, etc. If you tried using them elsewhere, they'd be blocked. So any idea how physically they've been doing this?
Well, absolutely, Ben. You should be able to basically, when you set these cards up, state what is and isn't an acceptable merchant. So it is easy from that card technology to stop them being used, for instance, in an off license in a gambling shop. But the problem is, obviously, people can take cash out, and that appears perhaps what may have been done in this case. So if people can take cash out, they can spend that wherever they want. And as you know, a lot of, or may not know, a lot of arcades, a lot of gambling, a lot of casinos, they have cash machines in them as well. So it's very difficult once you give money to people. It's very difficult to police how that's spent. Now, of course, it's completely unacceptable that it's what's meant for subsistence is being spent on gambling.
Yeah, absolutely. And those in self-catered accommodation receive £49.18 on the card each week to pay for clothes and necessaries, etc., etc. And the cards are currently issued to around 80,000 individuals. There are lots of people in this country who are really struggling financially at the moment. They would love to be given free 50 quid a week.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say this, that, there are genuine asylum seekers, and genuine asylum seekers whose lives are genuinely at risk and come to this country, deserve our support, obviously. But I think the problem that you're having here is that we know very well that this system is being abused. And that's something that we need to stamp out on. But one of the ways of doing that is, if we can, there is no reason that an asylum application, I've seen asylum applications take up to 10 years. This is absurd. We should be able to process the asylum seekers within a few weeks, and then this, as well as everything else, becomes less of a problem, because if we're processing them, if we're processing people quickly, they're not staying in hotels having essentially these subsistence payments. That's one of the issues. And when you give money to asylum seekers, it's very difficult to police how they're going to spend that. You essentially can't. But the Home Office just needs to look at other areas and fix this, as well as so many other areas in illegal migration.
David, just briefly, you're a human rights lawyer, of course. Can you conjure up a human rights argument that would allow or justify asylum seekers being able to spend their Aspen money, taxpayer money, on gambling? Is there any argument there?
I mean, I think if you were, I don't want to give anyone any ideas, but I think if you were an unscrupulous immigration lawyer or human rights lawyer, you could. And your client had, for instance, a gambling addiction, an addiction to alcohol, you could use that, but that would need to be medically supported. But like I said, I don't want to give anyone any ideas. No,
they're probably already on it, David. They've probably got big dossiers of
mental health. It's mental health,
yeah.
obviously. Yeah, no, absolutely.
David, thank you. Really appreciate your company. David Hay, human rights lawyer. Thanks very much.
One of the good ones, by the way.
David, yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the ones that doesn't make you very angry. It's like, what about my human rights?
You may have mentioned this already, but just for clarity at home, asylum seekers, when they first arrive in the UK, they're given these cards, Aspen cards. They're put up in hotels, obviously, but they're given these cards and they're loaded with £9.95 a week, a tenner a week to spend, rising to just under £50 a week, £49.18 when they're moved to self-catered accommodation. Yeah. People would say, well, a tenner a week's not a lot, or £50 a week isn't a lot, but bearing in mind they're having their dentistry, NHS paid for, they get free buses into town, you've got your housing paid for, you get 3 square meals a day, everything's paid for. So you've got £50 a week when you're in self-catered accommodation to,
it's very interesting as well. Paul Bristow, who's a Tory mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, suggested that the gambling by asylum seekers at taxpayers' expense, your expense, even if you're a pensioner, by the way, these days, may be fueling the growth of the industry. He said that Peterborough has seen a huge increase in the number of gambling establishments and gaming centre, at the same time as a huge increase in men who have arrived on small boats. Can't be a coincidence, can it?
No. I mean, it's long been known that the number of bookies and high street casinos, they're more populous in areas where there's poverty, not just migrants, but poverty among the working classes and so on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
Right, moving on. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some top European destinations. Back in a tick.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're off on your holidays this week, let's take a look at the weather across Europe. So, particularly hot for Italy and Greece, but further west, particularly windy for the Canary Islands and down the western coast of Portugal and in particularly the southwestern part of the Mediterranean. Thunderstorms for southeastern Spain, across France and northern Italy, but it's southern Italy and Greece that will be looking particularly hot, warmer than usual, and that heat is likely to last into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then. Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome back. Hello. It's Ben and Dawn still here, amazingly, I know. I'm just going to read this one message out because it made us both laugh. This is from Jay Camp, talking about our migrants receiving £49 a week, which some are using on gambling. And Jay has said that's actually not a lot of money. If you live in catered accommodation, it means you pay for your own food, clothes and bills. That's not even enough money to cover one of Dawn's fancy Starbucks morning coffee or Ben and Leo's daily tan and hair product. Well, I don't drink coffee. I hate coffee. I've never drunk it in my entire life. Meanwhile, Ben...
All natural tan, I'll have you know. I tan in 15 minutes. No sunbeds for me.
Doesn't rub off, no. No, it's all natural.
Thank
the
you,
hair, however, you might have a point.
Glad to think you think I'm tan, though. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Right, just to recap on that breaking news from a little bit earlier. Sir Keir Starmer and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi have signed off on a trade deal worth over £6 billion, an investment for the British economy, with the Prime Minister labelling it the biggest and most economically significant trade deal Britain has made since Brexit.
OK, we'll have more on this throughout the day on GB News. But moving on, the Police Federation have warned that forces are not prepared for a repeat of last summer's protests.
We're joined in the studio by GB News Homeland Security Editor Mark White. Mark, hello. Are the police prepared or not? If not, why not?
Well, certainly chief constables, the policing leaders will tell you that they will be prepared and able to cope. But the Federation, which represents rank-and-file officers, effectively the policing union, does not believe that to be the case. They believe that policing has been hollowed out over the last decade and a half, to the point where many experienced officers have left. Numbers are going back down again, having risen a bit under the Conservatives. And, of course, there are many requirements and challenges for the police to investigate lots of crimes which have now become a priority, with politicians saying the police need to concentrate again on going after shoplifters, going after those involved in street robberies and violent crime. But in doing that, they're not able, they would say, to do that as effectively if they are pulled away to man these increasing numbers of protests linked to migrant hotels.
Yeah, and talking of migrants, any news on the boat crossings at the moment? The weather's quite nice.
Well, yes, I mean, listen, everything links back, doesn't it, to the Channel crossings, because that's where the tensions are being stoked in communities right across the country with these migrant hotels or dispersal accommodation. And we can reveal that almost 250 migrants across the Channel again since late yesterday, and that's only actually as a result of a very, very short weather window of only less than 12 hours, because we've had a few days of bad weather that's prevented crossings, and we're back into a couple of days of pretty ropey weather there. The government should pray for bad weather, because that's the only occasion when actually the gangs are impeded in pushing these boats out towards the UK. Nothing, it seems, that the government is doing in terms of smashing the gangs, thus far anyway, is having any kind of impact on that.
Oh, Mark White, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. And appreciate you guys at home for your company today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dawn. I'm back tomorrow with Nana from 9:30.
You are indeed, yes, absolutely. But up next, a Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily.
The government tried to sneak this out during recess, but the amount of money they'll be spending on new renewable energy, it's astonishing. The price is 3 times what they thought it would be.
And at the same time, it turns out we could be sued over climate change by other countries around the world. We'll reveal why on Good Afternoon Britain. Stick with us.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Dry with sunny spells for many across the UK, but it will be a particularly wet day for those in eastern parts of England, and there'll be further rain arriving from the west later on as well. There's that area of rain arriving into Lincolnshire, into parts of East Anglia and then into London as we head later on through the morning. But for much of the UK, there'll be plenty of dry and bright spells with this frontal system arriving later on in towards the evening. Temperatures, again, are going to be around 18 to 20 degrees across the far north, warmest in the south, 24 or 25 for southern Wales and southern England. But underneath this cloud and with this rain and with this North Sea coastal breeze, it'll probably be feeling a little bit chillier across the far southeast of England. Here we can see temperatures around 18 degrees or so. Warmer though for Devon and Cornwall, and plenty of sunshine here. Wales seeing a nice day as well. Cumbria and for parts of western Scotland who saw quite a damp day on Wednesday, there'll be plenty more sunshine as well.